prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood, EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
And Ramadan Mubarak to all of you, and welcome once again to another media briefing from the Office of the President. The briefing, as usual, will look at the engagements of the President and issues he has been informed about. On agriculture, President Barrow continues to promote his government's policy to transform the sector from rudimentary to mechanized farming to make agribusiness a key economic player. To realize this policy goal, the government is ensuring that farmers access input and farm implements is given priority for the 2019 rainy season. The Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with National Food Security Processing and Marketing Corporation, is procuring a total of 7,500 metric tons of fertilizer for the rainy season this year. Also, with support from Japan, an extra 600 tons of fertilizer and 30 tons of assorted seeds will be available to farmers this year. Cooperative groups, farmer associations, and cluster communities in 11 districts from the Upper River Region, Central River Region, North Bank, and the Lower River regions will benefit from 260 agricultural equipments, ranging from rice and coarse grain threshers, milling machines, power tillers, accessories, pumping machines, and 5-foot 20 container freezers. These will be provided through the Ministry of Agriculture as part of the Japanese support, along with the Agricultural Value Chain Development Project and the National Agricultural Land Management and Development Project, NEMA. To encourage and empower farmers to have their own seeds, the Ministry of Agriculture, in partnership with FAO through European Union funding, will procure certified seeds from Gambian seed growers. Locally, 56% of groundnut seed, 71% of maize seed, and 100% of Findi seed needed are available this year locally. In addition, over 11,000 households identified in the Upper River Region, Central River, North and South, Lower River, and the North Bank will be given FAO procured seed and fertilizer. Out of this, 25% of the households are female-headed and 75% male-headed, who are in need of input support for 2019-2020 rainy season. In another development, the President has been briefed on discussions between the Gambia government and Egypt to create jobs for the youth through agriculture. 3,000 hectares of land has been identified for rice cultivation and poultry farming in the Nyanija district of the Central River Region North. This followed President Barrow's visit to Egypt last December. Finance and economy. An economic council under the Office of the President has been set up to provide regular updates to the President on macroeconomic situation of the country. it has been noted that while the economic outlook is promising, the prices of basic commodities continues to be affected by world prices. Meanwhile, the deputy head of the IMF, Mr. Zhang, in a meeting with the president, appreciated the Gambia's performance in the last 2 years, while encouraging the country to continue on the way it has started to maintain good performance in the economic and social sectors, creating stability and boosting business to achieve prosperity. He also commended the Gambia for the Senegambia Bridge and signing of the Africa Continental Free Trade Zone Agreement in connecting and promoting regional integration. He gave assurance of coordination of international assistance to support the country's reform programs. On human rights, UNOWA's representative, Dr. Mohamed Ibn Chambers, expressed his pleasure with the progress of work in the commissions and hailed the Gambians serving in the various commissions, including the TRRC, the CRC, and the National Human Rights Commissions. He was impressed with the government, that the government made funds available to the CRC to conduct outside consultations with Gambians to strengthen the institutions as part of the electoral reforms. President Barrow, in his response, said the reform programs are meant to be modernized and sustainable in an atmosphere that is conducive for the participation of all citizens. Security sector. President Barrow has assigned the Ministry of Justice to coordinate the activities of the National Security Steering Committee. Meanwhile, a national security sector policy has been prepared and is due to be launched in June this year, that is next month. Also, the head of state has also directed for the upgrading of the military barracks in the country. On land administration, a task force comprising representatives from the Governor's Office in the West Coast region, the Ministries of Interior, Justice, and Lands, has reported calm in the land dispute between Gunjur and Berending. On the civil service reform, the Office of the President led a retreat with heads of subvented institutions to create better delivery of services. Policy issues to improve impact and functional institutions were discussed to avoid duplication and minimize wastage. Energy and petroleum. British Petroleum, BP, signed an offshore petroleum license. The President has been informed that BP will be provided with exclusive right to drill and explore prospects in offshore Block A1. On governance, in an interface between the cabinet led by President Barrow and the Constitutional Review Commission, in addition to that, a written contribution will be submitted to the CRC for consideration from the executive. Also, the Department of Strategic Policy Delivery at the Office of the President presented to Cabinet its strategy to collaborate, coordinate, and unblock blockages in the delivery of services on the presidential priorities of the NDP. The department will also support the presidency on evidence-based decision-making using data and facts. On health, President has been briefed about the ongoing consultations with Qatari Charity Foundation to support the government build a hospital in the Greater Banjul area in line with making professional healthcare services accessible to the people. On upcoming engagements of the President, President Barrow will attend the 14th session of the OIC Summit scheduled for the 30th May to the 1st of June in Saudi Arabia. Meanwhile, the Gambia has deferred the hosting of the OIC Summit from 2019 to 2022 after a series of high-level consultations with other African countries to allow it more time to prepare for a successful hosting. The preparations include the construction of needed infrastructure for the summit. Thank you. I now take your questions. Please identify your name and the media you represent here.
I am Kila Mambore from Foreign Newspaper. I have 3 questions, one of which is a pregnant one. Okay, the first one is last year, farmers were sold fertilizer at the reduced price of $700 per bag. But they have complained of the following. One, the fertilizer was not available on time. 2, cost of transportation resulted to additional cost of $100 to $200. C, many farmers cannot still afford the price of $700. Has any measures been put in place to address these issues?
The information on agriculture that is available this year is what I have provided to you. That is, they're trying to get 7,500 metric tons of fertilizer for the farmers. Secondly, Japan has supported an extra 600 tons and 30 tons of fertilizer plus 30 tons of assorted seeds. So it means that efforts are being made to make fertilizer available as much as possible. Regarding the details of the other costs involved, I think that would be for the technical ministry to go into details of those things.
The president should address the National Assembly at least once every year, during which he will outline government plans and policies for the year. We are getting closer to the middle of the year. When will he do so this year?
Okay. And the date and time has not been fixed yet, but the process, they are working towards that. I'm aware of that process going on, and the ministries involved are also doing their part to ensure that everything is set on course.
Okay. Thank you. We also have caste disputes in the URR.
What?
Caste, C-A-S-T-E.
Yes. Okay.
Disputes, yes, in the URR, which sometimes acute. What has been done, or what plans does government have to resolve these disputes to avoid escalation, violence, death, and communal strife?
Of caste, the caste system, as we all know, is a traditional practice more than anything. And I know that the president has been involved in the discussions that he has been briefed on to advise the communities, especially using our traditional means of communication, to reach out to the way we do problem solving by resolving to communal discussions and using the elders of the communities to settle the disputes between the communities. So far, I know that has been going on, and the president has been informed about the efforts being done, especially in the URR, where these issues are taking place to be able to resolve these problems through communal approaches to problem solving, especially resolutions of conflicts related to tradition and culture.
So my question is regarding the OIC. I just wanted to know at what point was it known that the conference was going to be postponed? And because the last time we were here for the State House media briefing, you told us that the project was pretty much effective and it was going to happen. So we would like to know what led to the conference being postponed, and what happens to the project now that it is taken to another country. And in fact, what is the assurance that the OIC will be hosted in the Gambia come 2021?
Okay. On the first point, at one point, after the last press briefing we had, you will notice it's about a month now. After that, a high-level delegation was sent out to do consultation. And they returned last week, towards the end of the weekend, and it was finally, that's the information we got, and that's when we got it officially, that the consensus has been reached among the African countries that the Gambia will host it in 2022, and that is when the government decided to defer it. On what happens to the project actually continues In fact, the agreement has been reached that the funds are available already for the projects to continue with not only the airport VIP lounge, but also the roads that needs to connect from the airport to the conference area. Also, the hotel will be built specifically to accommodate all the delegates as much as possible for the next summit. But also, it has been supported to provide electricity and water for the areas around the specific project. That is a specific project for the hotel area and also around the conference area. And you realize that the construction of the conference center has advanced and it is also going on. So nothing will stop. In fact, it will give more time for the preparations to be done in an appropriate way to ensure that there is successful hosting of the summit.
You've mentioned of the mechanical system of farming that the government is trying to change the farming system of the Gambia. So what measures does the government take for now to change?
Okay, actually, I think if you listen carefully, you will realize that I have mentioned that over 260 different farming implements are available for farmers this year, gearing towards achieving that goal of mechanization. So that those farm implements, whether they are threshers, whether rice or coarse grain, whether they are milling machines, are all part of the process of mechanizing to ensure that what the farmers are doing can be improved and enhanced through mechanization. The President is reviewing the report in conjunction with the technical people that are involved to ensure that the report is the recommendations of the reports are known and understood, and whatever decision they have come out with, they will share it with everybody. It will be public information of the decision that is going to be taken. I think this has been discussed in the media before. The President acknowledges that there was an MOU that was not signed, but it was campaigned under the issue of 3 years. But apart from the period of the governance, it has indicated a lot of other areas of governance relating to the commissions we are talking about right now, if you are following what is going on, to make sure that there is institutional reforms, security sector reforms. All these are part of what the MOU wanted, the spirit is to ensure that in the governance of the transition period, we have institutional reforms, we have the issues of the commissions that will make sure that we have accountable and transparent institutions, as well as reforming the security sector. And this is why you have all these commissions coming up, to ensure that the desire for the people will be maintained. And this is the position of the President, to ensure that what we have aimed for the change to take place, let us work hard to achieve it. Without going into any specific thing, if you say the government, I will refer you to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They are the technical arm who are directly engaged in the contracts of the ambassadors in the different countries. Without going to any specific individual, I will know that what I know that is that the President, when they are appointing the ambassadors, they had a time frame attached to them, and their contracts had time. That much I know. But why and how they process it, you have to go to the technical ministry to answer those questions.
From your personal experience, why do you think this is the case?
I'm not here to give my personal experience. I'm here to share with you what the President knows and what he has to say on issues. Thank you very much. Regarding the CRC, the contributions, as I said, apart from having the face-to-face discussions, the written recommendations from the executive will be presented to the CRC. So generally the discussion was to have a frank discussion, open, where the issues of governance from the executive's perspective will be discussed with has been discussed with the CRC. And the issue of land and other forms of issues regarding governance were all discussed. And they concluded that they will send a written opinion on what they think the executive's perspective is on the CRC to contribute to the constitutional review. So the issue of the what do you call it?
Anti-Barrow protest.
Anti-Barrow, okay. I'm not sure about any anti-Barrow, I would call a protest that I have been aware of. So if there is anything called anti-Barrow protest, I'm not aware of it. Thank you.
There's another question about Saudi Arabia.
Whether there was a...
If it's true that the government of the Gambia struck the...
I'm not aware of a deal between Saudi Arabia and the government. What I am aware of is there was high-level consultation going on between the government of the Gambia and other African countries, because it was the turn of the African countries to host the OIC. That is why the Gambia was supposed to host it. Realizing that all the things that were needed are not yet in place, it was considered prudent to go back to the African bloc and discuss with them and see whether instead of another African country taking its turn to host the summit, they will allow Gambia to host it. And this has not been the first time it is happening. It has happened before. Even Saudi Arabia, as the main host of the OIC, had deferred at one point for 6 years its right to host. Senegal did it, Egypt did it, Pakistan did it. So it's not something new, or it's because you are negotiating or dealing, making a deal, that's why you are postponing or deferring. No, that's not the case. I'm not in a position to answer that. What I can say is that the president has been informed that BP went through the due process and they had all the legal advice that they needed to make sure that they license it out to BP. That I can tell you. The issue of the caste system, and the land disputes and all these things happening, I think in a new democracy, we could expect a lot of things happening. People are realizing their rights, and if you look at some of these things, these are linked with traditional practices and beliefs and norms that were taking place in the society. But we are in an era of human rights, and people understand their rights. So I think it is not something new for people to claim their rights. I think what is important is what is being done to make sure that our rights, the demand for our rights, are measured in a right way where we will all appreciate and recognize that we have rights and we enjoy those rights. And what the president has been briefed upon regarding the caste system and this land disputes is to make sure that we do consultation, dialogue, to understand the genesis of the problems and how to address them. And I know that is something that has been done and will continue to be done to ensure that we continue to claim these traditional issues, look at them from the perspective of modern day democracy in terms of rights and responsibilities and how we fit that within our cultural norms and values. I'm not aware of what government's position is on the legal aspect of what you are talking about. But I know that in terms of our democracy and promoting democracy, our rights should be within the rule of law. And that much I can say. But what the government will decide, that has not been discussed before this briefing, and I cannot give an opinion or the position of the president on it, because we have not discussed that. There is a lady behind you.
I am Ida Gambia. Since the beginning of the year, Germany has been deporting Gambians living in Germany illegally in groups. The government continued to deny signing an agreement with the German government to facilitate the process. In December, a flight came with 20 people. In January, one came with 15. And the same thing happens in February. In March, the government issued a moratorium, putting a temporary ban on this mass deportation. Recently, we've received information that there is a flight scheduled to arrive in Banjul before the 24th of this month. So what can you tell us about that? The other question is, still on the deportation, the government, through the government spokesperson, Mr. Sankare, and the immigration department has also denied sending immigration officials to Germany specifically to identify Gambian citizens for deportation. The immigration had told us that they had liaison officers at the Gambia embassy in Germany. But yesterday, we had an interview with Georgie Boucher, the honorary consular of Gambia in Germany, and he said that Gambia does not have any embassy in Germany. We only have honorary consul in Germany. He also said that he met with these officers who are identifying Gambian citizens for deportation. My question is, who should we believe?
As far as I know, the Minister of Interior, Minister of Foreign Affairs, these are the institutions that are responsible for some of these things you're talking about, especially relating to our citizens in other countries. So I would advise you to contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Interior to give you information on that. Right now, where I am standing, I've not had any briefing or discussion on this matter, and I cannot give you an answer that will be honest to what I know. Okay.
Any other questions?
Madam, I'd like to ask whether there will be any annual press conference with the President in 2019, and if so, when?
Right now, it has not been planned. What we have been doing is we're having individual interviews going on. And last week, we had one from the international body that was associated to BBC. And we also started an interview with the Paradise Television. And that interview actually is continuing today, this week. So for now, we look at his schedule and we try to program the requests we have so far. So regarding the biannual engagement, so far this is what we have been able to do. Okay. It seems all your questions are now going into wider government engagements and issues that the wider government has to address. While I'm trying to limit myself to what the President has been briefed upon, I would suggest that you engage the wider government through the spokesperson to engage on some of these issues that you are requesting to know. My responsibility is focused on what the President has been briefed of and what he has discussed with officials regarding the sectors. So if he has not discussed issues with the sectors, I'm not in a position to be able to discuss that here. No, I did not say that. Can I correct what I said? You asked me, I said, please let me correct what I have said. I was referring to that our rights and responsibility in a democracy, as much as we appreciate the need to have our rights and earn them, we need to also respect the rule of law. This is what I have said.
My point.
No, you are mentioning things Senegambia which I have not mentioned.
No, I quoted you saying that the rule of law should be followed.
Yes.
In regard to the people who
not only to the people. Yes. Our rights as citizens, while we want to enjoy our rights, we should also ensure that we follow it through the due process of the law by respecting the laws of the land. That's what I have tried.
Right, due process of the law. Now, there are those who point out that Solo Sandeng and others did the same when they took to the street to show opposition to some of the bad laws, Jamaica's bad laws. People said that it is hypocritical of this government to now turn back and say, look, you people cannot do this. This is unlawful. This is in contravention of the Public Order Act. What is the position of the government?
I will refer you to the police, Gambia Police Force, so that they will tell you what the rules and regulations are regarding the right to protest, and then you will be able to have the technical information that is required there. My information right now, as I said, it seems we have exhausted the issues that are regarding the President directly that we are engaging in. On that note, I will just want to say thank you very much. There was a last person we wanted to offer. Yes? Thank you.
Yeah, in a few of your words, you said we are in a democracy right now, and we could expect things to happen. Hence, Gambia is in a premature democracy, and then hence we could expect things to happen. So in counter, couldn't we expect solutions in remedying these issues before they happen?
In fact, if you look at the whole governance, that is why you're having these commissions, to see and understand how our institutions have been operating to ensure that the citizens enjoy their rights within the limits of the rule of law. So a lot of things are going on, because if you look at the rights of people who have been abused, are the issues that the commissions are bringing up. If you look at our constitutional rights issues, that is what the CRC is bringing up. Our human rights issues, that is why we have the National Human Rights Commission. All these commissions, including the existing traditional structures we have as institutions responsible for particular areas, are all part of the security sector reform and the civil service reform. I may add that we also need to perceive and understand ourselves as Gambians. Well, how do we understand ourselves as citizens, our rights, our responsibilities, as well as how we move the country forward in making sure that in the generations that are coming, we have the best of what we call the Gambia. On that note, I thank you all for your time and for coming and for being part of this session. Thank you very much.